I get a lot of women ask me, Kitty, so should I be drinking low fat or high fat? And we have quite a structured process because, people are coming to us, they want to feel better, but, like we're all about strength training and getting strong and body composition change. And so, I always say to them, it's, well, one, like you said, it's what you like, but also, it's not that the fat's bad. It's just that too much fat is too much calories. So for me to get the amount of calcium I need in a day, if I drink a liter of full fat milk, I'll be eating bloody like 100 grams of fat a day, which means that it's just too many calories. For me, I don't need that many fat calories, so our women in the program, we're like, okay, well, here's your budget for the day. If you're tracking things. So it's like, you just need to play around with it. It's what you like. It's what you can fit in your budget. So, if we've got this homemade chocolate brownie recipe, which has quite a bit of butter in it. So that obviously uses up quite a high amount of my fat budget for the day. So therefore I'll drink skim milk, but some days I'll have like you say, if I really feel like full fat milk, I'll go and get a full fat latte. So I think would you agree with that?
I think that's a great point. Right. And, and if you ever read, Dr. Pete's work, I mean, he would consume a gallon of milk a day. And he says, well, now I only consume 2 quarts because he's getting older. But he used to consume a gallon. And I remember when I first read that, I was like, who consumes a gallon of milk a day? This man is insane, and I mean, but.
How much is a gallon in liters? How much is it? How many? I don't know.
3 liters. About 3 liters.
Do you know what? Some of the coaches in our gym, Jake and Bo, for a period of time, they were having a little competition about who could drink the most milk. So like within their diet budget, they would be. So I think at one point they were both drinking like 3 liters of light milk a day. Also too, because it's easy for them because they bake it chocolate because they're in and out of classes and on their feet all day. So it's just easy. They can go in, drink the milk, but they're young men, like.
Some 4 liters are in a gallon.
Oh my God. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's a lot of milk. But, needless to say, so he never drank whole fat. He always had 1 or 2% milk because it was just too much fat, And so when you are consuming high amounts, I don't know anyone that's drinking a gallon of milk,
No.
That would be really challenging. But I do definitely have people that drink a liter or 2 a day. And even for them, and depending on what their goals are. Now, if you're just looking to maintain weight and get healthy, then whole fat, you could be totally fine for you. You could probably utilize more fat. I mean, when you're trying to maintain body weight, you can have higher fat and be totally fine if that's what works for your satiation. However, if you're healthy enough to actually start losing weight, and I mean that because you need to build that foundation first before trying to lose the weight. At that point of time, when you get to that health, you can do a little calorie reduction by doing a lower fat milk, but still having a high calcium intake.
And what I really find too, like I've sort of tested for a long time and tracked things. And for me, my fat between sort of 60 to 70 grams daily works. And then having higher carbs, like pushing the carbs higher and keeping the protein. For me, 150 is about good. Because we obviously heavy strength, 150 grams a day of protein.
No.
And keeping the fat for me between 60 to 70, and then I just have higher carbs, and that's the work for me. And I think I've tested lots of, like say, test and measure. It's testing and measuring. But I think, like we never recommend that the women have too low fat because it keeps you full too. I think it's that balance of, if I just find they seem to sit anywhere between 50 to 70, depending on their goals and their metabolism. Like the higher their metabolism, the more active they are, they can tend to have a bit more fat. Like I've had women eating up to 90 grams of fat a day, but they strength train 4 days a week and they're quite active. And I think, like you say, it's your goals and just testing and measuring.
Yeah, it is what works for you. And fat does help keep you more satiated. That is something that it does. And it actually lowers sugar into your body, So if you're not utilizing sugars very well, having some more fat in your diet is actually going to be helpful to you. But someone that really, starts utilizing a lot of energy can get away with lower fat and consuming tons of carbohydrates, because that's what's utilizing and burning through their system, and they do just fine. But they have to eat a lot of food normally. So again, it's all depending on the person and what works for them, and because and how their body is functioning at that time.
And just to finish off, Can you talk about, so like if the viewers are watching this and they're like, okay, well look, I drink milk and I eat dairy and I just get heaps of issues. Where would you start? Like what would you tell them to do?
So first thing is, you have to look at your overall diet. And, if milk, you seem to be causing inflammation, that means you have probably something going on in the gut. So it's important to remove the foods that could be causing you gut distress. And that is the hard to digest foods, nuts, seeds, anything with the polyunsaturated oils in it, probably leafy green vegetables or raw food, legumes. Those type of foods cause a lot of gut disturbance. So getting rid of those foods, and also your processed foods or fast foods or just complete crappy foods, get those out of your diet. And then start, once you feel that you have a little bit, because, those are the people that always have that gut bloat, or I used to have it. I usually always had this bloat going on because things weren't digesting properly. Once that gets under the control, then start adding dairy in slowly. You might want to start with a cheese to see how well your body, is using it. And if the cheese is okay, maybe add a tablespoon of yogurt and see how the body responds to that. Then if that's okay, try a whole milk first. That usually is the easiest to digest because it hasn't been degraded and it doesn't have, additives into it. And literally an ounce or two. That's it. Like, don't be drinking cups and cups of milk, and try that for a week. And then if your body's okay, then slowly start adding a little bit more. But by doing it, that slow process, usually you can start turning on, that small intestine or however it was making, that enzyme that will start producing it again, so it can start digesting the milk better. But, take a week, couple weeks to a month and go into that process slowly. And you'll find that you can start using and digesting milk much better. But people that are in a really damaged state usually don't do very well on milk. And so it's best to usually wait a little bit. You can clean up your diet and clean up your gut until you start adding it back in.
One last thing, and I just remembered one more thing, is that when we talked about this, is that, clients in our program will get them to download Chronometer and track a day or two of food, and they can actually see how many milligrams of calcium that they're getting. Now, what would you recommend as to someone as a minimum amount of calcium they should be getting a day at a minimum? Because I know it's going to range.
I would, depending on the person, probably around 1,500 milligrams. I mean, some people might go a little bit less if they're smaller. I mean, obviously, if you are just starting off and you've come from a low calorie diet, you're not going to hit those numbers. It's going to take you a little bit of time because, if you're starting with 1,200 calories, and you might be because that's what you've been eating, and you're starting to work yourself up, then, you might be more around that 1,000, milligram range. So, I think a good goal is, something that you can utilize until you start pulling the calories up, is to use eggshell calcium as a dietary supplement. A quarter teaspoon is about 200 milligrams of calcium. So adding that in a couple times during the day can be used as kind of a supplement until you start eating more. So that's one way to kind of bridge the gap. But yeah, I would say minimum around 15. I mean, a lot of the research says higher than that. I mean, I find it's really hard to get, more than 1,500 or 2,000 unless you're consuming a lot of calories. If you're consuming a couple liters of milk, you're good. A cup of milk is about 350 milligrams of calcium. So you're usually fine. And if you're consuming cheese and other foods, you're having no problem getting it. But yeah, a good goal I think would be around 1,500 milligrams.
One last thing, because I just thought of something else, is what about these people because I see people write on Facebook and they're like, yeah, but you can get calcium from other foods, like green vegetables contain some calcium. What is the issue around the calcium in that form, and is it actually available to the body to digest?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, because the green leafy vegetables do have a good amount of calcium. Seaweed has a good amount of calcium. The problem with those vegetables, especially in the raw state, they all contain oxalates, and oxalates are going to inhibit, calcium absorption. So that's one of the problems. Now, if you cook those vegetables, the oxalates basically go into the water. So it's an easier way to consume it and get some calcium out of it. So if you're going to, cooking is going to be your best option. And also, again, by cooking it, the oxalates are going to go into the water, but also some of the minerals are going into the water as well. So, and that's one thing. If you're consuming a mineral broth based on greens, you're actually not consuming it to get the calcium, because you're probably not going to get much absorption because of the oxalate. It's more to get the magnesium out of that broth. But, so, I don't think they're the best option. Obviously, there's too many other factors that are going to inhibit calcium absorption, and everything that comes along with milk is going to increase calcium absorption.
And I think that's probably where I used to, because I was uneducated, is all these people banging on about, oh yeah, but there's calcium in these vegetables and these foods, but there's also other digestive inhibitors that stop your body from absorbing the calcium. So yeah, it's so interesting once you actually start to educate yourself and you test. I always recommend to people, I'm like, just test. And, whether this is right or wrong, is I don't read a lot of studies anymore. Like, I just test things on myself, and I measure, like we've talked about before, sleep, digestion, mood, energy, menstrual cycle. Do I feel generally happy? Because I feel happy most of the time. And I know when like we went to a wedding, I don't drink very much anymore, but every now and then, like if we have a special occasion and I had a few drinks and ate some food that obviously I didn't know, you don't know exactly what's in it.
Right.
And, I had not a great sleep, and I woke up the next day and I felt like really flat. Like I can feel it now. And I think, if people can get really in tune with their body, and you'll find what's optimal and what makes you feel really, really good. And then when you don't do that, you'll know, and you'll start to, So it's like, I think just listen to your body and test things. Like, it's not going to fucking kill you,
Well, and I used to tell people, and I still tell people, when you get real healthy, you can think of it like a clear pool. Like a clear pool, when you're real healthy, it's clear, you can see through the pool. When you're really toxic, it's like a dirty pool. And if you're really toxic and you add, a shovel full of dirt into that dirty pool, you can't even notice it. But if you put that dirt into a clear pool, it's highly noticeable, and you really get affected by the toxicities because you're so clean. So it is one of those that you'll definitely notice when your body becomes clean and working properly. When you add some toxicities or bad foods or alcohol, you become a little bit more sensitive to it. Doesn't mean you can't clear it, because you can, but you feel it more, because you're not as toxic. Why do you think like alcoholics can drink alcohol all the time and it doesn't bother them at all, right? There's no hangover involved there, but if I drink a few glasses, I feel it.
Oh, same. I used to be able to just go out, like I took heaps of drugs and partied heaps, like 3-day benders, heaps of booze. I drink bottles. Like I could just, like 3 or 4 bottles a night, plus shots, plus drugs. And now I'll have 2 glasses of wine and I'll feel it the next day. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing that the body can heal itself too, because I've really done a lot. I feel like I have,
You and me both, right? I think that you have to go through this learning process. Yeah. I mean, it's not like I come from a background of health. I haven't. I came back of partying and eating crap, thinking I was lightly, but I mean, how could I have possibly been the amount of alcohol and stuff I've consumed in my system? But I think that's a good sign. I mean, A, it shows you can recover, and B, that we can get better, and that it's a learning and growing process. But I mean, if someone was to tell me, I mean, I can't relate to them if they've always been healthy all their life, and here they're doing this thing, and I'm like, but you never destroyed yourself. So I mean, you have to, and most people have. I guess the point is, most people have done some destructive measures in their life: excessive diet, restriction, alcohol, drugs, pharmaceuticals, whatever. We're all in this game together. But I mean, I need to know. Look, I've been there. I've done it. I've done it all.
Everything. I remember when I was 14 and like however old you could be to get your first job, and I went and started working at McDonald's, and I actually really liked it, but I ate McDonald's before my shift, during my shift, and after my shift for like 3-4 years straight.
You were the McDonald's diet.
Yeah, so like, I love those bloody fries, and I'd have I always had the standard like nuggets, big fries, a Coke, an apple pie and ice cream. Like I can't believe that I did that. And that then after that, then the drugs and the partying started, and the shit food. And so I'd drink piss all weekend, and on a Sunday I'd smash Domino's pizza and, eat donuts and stuff. So it does really show that, like, and I did that for years, and so if I can recover, you can recover too.
I totally agree with you. 100%.
It's never too late. It's never too late.
And we were just talking because I'm like, Kitty, Kitty's, I got 10 years on her. And I'm like, when I was your age, I was still doing crazy stuff and eating crap, working out like an insane person, so, hey, you can do it at any age and you can fix stuff.
That's right. Sure. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to add that you think that we haven't discussed? I think we probably covered quite a lot.
I think the important thing is that don't be afraid of dairy. We don't know the research on all these plant-based milks. I think it's important to know that we have tons and tons and tons of research on dairy and milk products. And conclusively, what we've looked at over time is that they have a positive effect on our bodies, on our basal metabolic, or on our BMI, on our bone density. They're helping supportive in different diseases. So we need to look at that research. And again, we understand that these plant-based milks are very new. They're new products. They're industrialized products. We don't know what they're doing and if they're beneficial to us at all. We need to take that into consideration. And if you haven't been doing dairy in a long time, don't jump in and just start consuming copious amounts of milk. Start looking at your diet and what you can take out that might be causing you gut inflammation. Add dairy and slowly start with a cheese, maybe like a Parmesan Reggiano, which is pretty easy to digest, and slowly introduce it. And pay attention, again, if you've been on deprivation for a really long time, you have to add these foods in slowly, especially things like milk or foods that have sugar in them. Because if you do it too quickly, you're going to gain weight and be mad and angry and upset. And again, everything we teach about this process is you got to go slow. You've got to introduce it slow. And and allow your body to adjust and adapt. And when you understand the food better, you'll be more inclined to use these products and get the benefit from them.
Awesome. Well, as always, thank you so much,
pleasure.
Kate. And I will see you next time.
You got it.
Okay, bye.